We work very closely with the DEP on the environmental issues with our facility. We work very hard to try to maintain all the qualities that we can. On contrary to what they say about the Marcellus, we haven't received and disposed to our NPDES permit since May 19th of 2011. So where they come up with that, I'm not sure. However, we're going to continue to go forward. We're going to continue to work with the DEP. We're going to do everything we can to continue the process and be a active industry or business in the community. According to my attorneys, I believe they said that I'm not going to take any questions. I'm going to give any answers, but we'd like everybody here to know that we are going to make a public statement here in the near future, but we're going to do it on our terms instead of the terms of the Clean Water Actions Group. So I'm glad to see everybody turn out. We got quite a group here, and I appreciate everybody coming out here tonight. But you will be hearing from us here in the near future. Thank you.
I'm going to turn this over to Dan, who will moderate the Q&A.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold, and I'm sorry that you won't be taking any questions tonight because it would be interesting to hear from wastewater treatment some answers that maybe the community has. Look, I respect, number one, I have no position in this, and I respect about jobs and I respect what people do in oil, but if there's a problem here in our river, I'm sure we all want to solve that problem. So tonight's questions, I hope you keep them intelligent and keep them short if anyone has any. And let's try to move through this. Who has the first question? Come on over here, sir.
I was just wondering.
Right here, sir.
Right into the mic.
I was just wondering what this gentleman just said. He did a lot of talking. I've got all of his notes here. But it isn't much of it makes any sense to me. He didn't tell us what subcategory A was. He didn't tell us what subcategory B was. He didn't tell us what subcategory C was. He didn't tell us what organics were. Significant level of salt and metals. What is a significant level of salt and metals? I can remember when they elevated Brown Run to exceptional quality water, and I think there was a .07 arsenic content and a point something lead content, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Unless this gentleman can tell me what we're talking about, I have no idea what he's talking about.
Well, let's see if he has an answer for you, sir.
I have a folder here that I'd like each and every one of you to have to realize how necessary mining is to you as an individual. I'm going to pass these out a little later. I'd like everyone to take one with them. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. That's an excellent question. I'm happy to go into a little more detail. So the 4 categories of waste, these are categories that apply to companies that are what are called centralized waste treatment facilities, CWTs in the lingo. And Waste Treatment Corporation is one of these centralized waste treatment corporations. You take in lots of waste, you do something with it, you discharge it, whatever. So they divide the different kinds of categories of waste into different types. There's metal bearing, which I think is, it's basically dependent on what types of contaminants are in the waste stream. So metals are one category, organics meaning, hydrocarbons, compounds like benzene, oils, those are in organics. And then you have mixed categories where you have waste streams that have a mix of contaminants. And to a large extent, gas drilling wastewater falls into the mixed category because, as I mentioned before, there are lots of different types of contaminants that kind of crosses the categories. So that's what those references mean, and that's why only being authorized for Category A is not sufficient for what Waste Treatment Corporation has been taking in and discharging. In terms of what's a significant level, that's also a good question. As I explained before, the levels of salt, twice as salty as seawater, we would consider that a significant level. It's far above what freshwater fish and aquatic life or people can tolerate in their river or in their drinking water. So that's something that's been significant. There is a chart on the table with some of the results of the DEP sampling. We also have copies of the DEP sampling study itself, which has all the details on their sampling. If they're not available, my contact information is up here, or you can come see me afterwards. We can make sure you get the full results of what's been found.
Okay, we have a follow-up question here, but before we get to that, now do I understand that the river was tested above and below the Waste Treatment Corporation?
Yes, and in fact they tested actually in a number of points in the stream. So they tested above both the sewage plant and waste treatment. They tested between the sewage plant and waste treatment, and then they tested below waste treatment. So they were really trying to tease out what contaminants were coming from what places.
So these contaminants are only found where?
They were only found downstream of waste treatment. Upstream of waste treatment, they found almost nothing. I mean, if they found these contaminants, it was 1% or less of what they found downstream of waste treatment.
Okay, thank you. This guy has a follow-up.
Okay, now, you made the statement that there were 400 violations in 13 years. How many of these violations related to paperwork and technicalities, and how many of these violations related to subcategory A, B, and C?
Actually, it was only in the last 3 years, since 2010, and all the violations were violations of permit limits. So, you know, I'm just throwing a number out there. These aren't the actual numbers, but if you're only allowed to put out, 5 pounds of arsenic a day and you put out 10, that's one violation.
I just want to tell you, a lot of those violations was because of my foster son. He used to dump too much water on the midnight shift. He didn't dump contaminants, he just dumped a few gallons extra.
Just out of curiosity, how many of you people recreate on the Allegheny? Yeah, I mean, and how many of you people, I'm sure, love our community and know how valuable our resources are, the Kensu Dam, and yeah, I'm sure you're all concerned, whether you're working with the drilling or not. So, next question.
Can you identify yourself and what organization you represent? Because you do not sound impartial.
I'm very impartial. I have nothing to do with anything. I'm completely
chosen to be the mediator.
because of my voice.
It's beautiful.
I have nothing against drilling. I believe in this world that we can all get along and make things work. We have a need for energy in this world. Absolutely. We have a need, but I also believe that we have a need to take care of our earth. So next question.
Next question is, from anything I've ever been to, a mediator does not make statements or express their opinion. I would assume that a mediator...
I did not express my opinion. I have not expressed my opinion about wastewater.
That's all you've been doing is...
I have not expressed my opinion about Wastewater Corporation. Look, we all need jobs. I think Wastewater Corporation is a valuable company in this community, and they provide a valuable service. Period. Next question. Yes, sir.
Hi, Myron. My name's John Stewart. I work for Cameron Energy Company here in Warren County and Forest County. I noticed in your presentation you have a lot of questions about the ongoings at WTC. For an example, you expressed a lack of understanding of the difference between waters meant for recycling versus discharge. You also stated that you have goals of improving Technologies or Operations WTC. So my question is, prior to filing for a potentially costly lawsuit both to your organization and to WTC, what, if any, avenues of constructive employment of that monies did you pursue?
As I said, we've been concerned about the situation for quite a few years. When this permit came up for renewal in 2010, we took a look at it and expressed some of our concerns about it then, and we had hoped at that time that something would be worked out between the state and the company that would kind of satisfy everybody. Part of the reason that we've taken the action we've taken is that it's been 3 years since then, and nothing has happened, and we continue to see discharges into the river that we're concerned about. And I think DEP's sampling really, verified that. We have, just to be clear, we have only filed a notice indicating that we believe there are violations of the Clean Water Act going on currently. The way the Clean Water Act works is that you are required to file this notice 60 days before filing any actual lawsuit. We've not filed a lawsuit yet in any court. The 60-day period is for folks to work together and try to work something out prior to actually getting into the legal arena, which, as you know, is potentially costly to various parties. We would welcome sitting down with Waste Treatment Corporation's representatives, with DEP's representatives to talk about this situation further.
So, if I could just follow on. If you could just tell me your most constructive avenue that you could find was to threaten with a lawsuit. That was the most constructive use of your organization's monies.
No, 3 years ago we made a number of suggestions about what we thought was needed, and we received no response.
Anyone else?
I have a comment.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, please.
My name's Ed Yeagle. I live along the Allegheny River. I spend a lot of time down along the Allegheny River fishing. In the past years, I've been down there, I think about 5 or 6 years. I've never had any trouble going down there with bait and feeding the fish, let me tell you. But this last year, starting this year, there is no fish to be caught along my side of the river. Last year, I seen pinheads by the thousands going up the river. So there was no problem with the water then. It just seems like it happened in this last few months, right? Maybe from the start of the year. But something is definitely wrong when I go down there and throw a night crawler in the river and I don't get even a chuck. There's something definitely wrong, and something has to be done. And it's time that you people get off your butts and do something.
What part of the river are you on, sir?
Allegheny River.
Where?
371, right across from Bexfield.
Yeah, I'm sorry. There was no, he was making a comment.
I've been coming up here on the Allegheny River for 40 years. I've seen the river designated the Wild and Scenic River. It's one of 2 in Pennsylvania so designated. I don't know why in the world you would want to destroy or harm one of the 2 waterways in the state which has this classification. Now, about 3 or 4 years ago, or maybe longer than that, there was divers off our cabin in Alpha, and they were testing the river because of the construction of a bridge at West Hickory. I talked to one of the women divers in a wetsuit who came out of the water, and she said, "I've never seen any place west of Maine with this type of river quality." Now, it's beyond me why we would want to harm this river, which is a very, draws tourism. It's appreciated by so many people, canoeists, campers, and you name it. Why we would want to harm this river with a waste treatment plant, as a situation exists. Thank you.
As I look around the room, I'm sure I'm embarrassing my brother right now, but I look around the room and I've worked for probably 70% of the people in here. I've lived here all my life. I grew up with my granddad teaching us how to do work. Okay? Everybody in this room that works in the oil and gas industry has the idea in their mind that they're trying to do the best that they can for the environment. I know for a fact that Waste Treatment does the best job that they can with their DEP guidelines, and if they were breaking the law, they would have shut them down.
Yes.
The question I have is, does anybody living in Pittsburgh or anybody under the age of 60, and I'm not discriminating on anybody, but it seems like a lot of people that are in their retirement age, and I hope we're all there someday, are the ones that are complaining about this. The Allegheny River, my opinion, I go up and down the river every week. There's people out there fishing, they're catching fish, they're enjoying it, there's kids swimming. I don't see horns growing out of their head. Okay, I'm not saying that they should dump anything illegal in the river, but my opinion is, if they were, why is the DEP here saying that? They're not here saying, I don't see a spokesman here saying they're breaking the law. Their pockets are getting padded. My pockets are broke. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because